we have confirmation. The PBC confirms a mega showdown fight between Errol the True Spence Jr. and Keith one-time Thurman. And this is great news because this fight has been a long time coming. This fight is very long overdue, and I even thought we were not even gonna get this fight because both fighters eventually avoided each other at one point in time. I remember when Errol Spence was the man, he did not want to give Keith Thurman a shot, and when Keith Thurman was the man, he did not want to give Errol Spence a shot. So this fight dragged on for years, and I really thought we were not gonna get it because Keith Thurman has been out of the ring for a very long time, and Errol Spence also has been too. So to me, they are the perfect opponents for each other, and it doesn't make sense for them to fight any other dangerous fighter. No, they're both dangerous fighters themselves, but they have been out of the ring for a very long time, and I think they're at the same level. When Keith Thurman was the man, he was the man first, right? And Errol Spence wanted a shot at Keith Thurman, but Keith Thurman kept brushing Errol Spence off. So time kept passing by, and they both kept on winning until Keith Thurman faced Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao actually beat Keith Thurman, and this is when Keith Thurman's stock went down because he lost to Manny Pacquiao. And not just that, he went on hiatus for at least 2 to 3 years. So that's when he went down. But at the same time, Errol Spence became the man, and now Errol Spence does not want to give Keith Thurman a shot. So Keith Thurman was out of the picture, and Errol Spence was the man, and he kept winning fights until he fought Terrence Crawford, and Terrence Crawford beat the living ish out of Errol Spence. Now Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford was known as fight of the century, but the build up for Keith Thurman and Errol Spence was a lot bigger than Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, and Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence would have been the fight of the century, but Keith Thurman retired. And I remember it was always Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman, and nobody really mentioned Crawford. The only time everybody mentioned Crawford versus Errol Spence was when Keith Thurman retired. So the next best fighter was Terrence Bud Crawford. But I watched all 3 of these fighters fight, and I believe Terrence Crawford was the weakest of the fighters at that time. But everybody progresses and some fighters regress. I guess Terrence Crawford progressed, and Keith one-time Thurman and Errol Spence regressed because now they both got one loss. So what better fight it is to make them with each other? They're both been gone for a layoff, and they both got one loss. They're both around the same age and about the same time in their career. Now, I have Keith Thurman beating Errol Spence because I have never seen Keith Thurman get dominated the way Errol Spence did. Even when Keith Thurman lost to Manny Pacquiao, this is Manny Pacquiao we're talking about, one of the greatest fighters of all time. There's no shame in that. But in Errol Spence's defense, he did not look the same when he lost to Terrence Crawford. It looked like my boy got high or he was running up the hill. I heard he couldn't even spar months before the fight, and he had a rib injury. And I know he does not want to take any tune-ups, and fighting Keith Thurman is not taking any tune-up. But I say they do not go in there straight with the wolves and they fight a lighter touch. Maybe get a fight or 2 in and then they can fight each other. But guess what, guys? I ain't the biggest, I'm the baddest. And if you want to help out your boy, throw $1 at the super thing. That's all, folks.